There was a time when the Zionist movement, after Theodore Herzl founded it, were finding it hard to purchase land under Palestine, which was ruled by the Turks. They were finding it hard to purchase land. What if they all turned to each other and said, hey, let's just stay in Hungary. Let's just stay in Europe now. We're not going to get anywhere with this. These Turkish guys don't want to help us. There's all these Arabs on the landline. They actively said, we're going to go there and we're going to take that land. We're going to make it happen by hook or by crook.
One day going to go to other places before.
There was people like floated ideas of Uganda and stuff like that, but they didn't want that.
Any more questions? Yeah, that's right. Sorry, can you say again? I wasn't really that surprised, because just on how hip hop started in the States, you know, it's the same ingredients. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, you have the breakdancers putting all these moves, you know, and I wasn't surprised. In fact, I thought it was a lot more fresher over there than it is over here in America. I don't know if there's anything we want to.
Well, I wasn't particularly surprised because we went in 2009 as well, but if America rules the world militarily, why wouldn't it rule the world culturally? It's just how you use that influence to preserve, you know, your own culture, which I think is great about what's happening in Palestine.
In terms of hip-hop in Palestine, they already had their local rappers like them and Bled al-Haraweh and many others in the occupied territories and the West Bank. So they did have their own local rappers that were doing shows from back, you know, 2002, 2003, maybe before. Them have been around for over 10 years. So, you know, they've been doing their things, and I just think that us going there just bridges the gap between the West and the diaspora Arabs who are like me and lowkey rapping I'm rapping in my native tongue, but you know, it's just kind of bridging that gap between, you know, us really and them, because not all of them can travel, not all of them can come to London and perform, or go to New York like me and lowkey do and perform. So, you know, we kind of, lowkey mentioned something in the first screening that we had in London last week. He said, we actually gained more than we gave out there. And what we gained is, you know, their progress and their talents and what they had to offer and what they delivered. And we took that with us and we bring it back here and we play the movie for you, and we show you what's going on out there. We show you that there are people rapping out there, there are more females rapping as well from the refugee camps, which is beautiful, because I know a couple of years ago when I went, people were looking at me like, what are you doing? Get out of my town. But like, not really, but I mean, you know, there's so many more females rapping now, and I think that the movement is growing anyway, not just in Palestine, in Lebanon, in Syria, in Jordan, you know, Morocco, everywhere. It's growing, and they're saying that, and the internet proves that. You know, someone in Palestine saw could see one of me and lowkey shows in Florida, Tampa, you know, and think, okay, that's what I want to do, that's what I want to be. And we're trying to push that. We're trying to get them out of there. It's not about just going to Palestine and rapping. What's new? You know, we need to get these people out of there. We need to get them here. Part of, you know, breaking down barriers and checkpoints.
You know, I personally, I think, learned more about my own government when I got detained on the way in for 12 hours than I have my whole entire life living in this country. For the simple fact that this state and this entity is a product of a promise that the foreign minister of this country in 1917 made to a banker in the United States in 1917. Isn't that unbelievable power? Isn't that incredible? Just, can we even fathom that level of power that the British in 1917 could make a promise to a banker in the United States of a land that was at the time ruled by the Turks? So it's understanding the power of our own government. You'll learn more about your own government going out there, but definitely, like Shadia said, I think we all gained far more than we gave. And so I would encourage everybody that has the freedom of travel, that has this British passport, that has represented, you know, the British have travelled so much all over the world. They've gone all over the world like they own it. And now we have the passport. So let's use it. Let's travel.
So after you left Tel Aviv, how difficult was it to get travel from Tel Aviv to India the same way?
Well, we went to Haifa, which is in 48, which is the state of Israel. But, you know, there's a lot of, in Haifa particularly, there's quite a lot of Palestinians that have the citizenship. And we stayed for one night, and the mosquitoes attacked me. I've never been. Every inch of my back was covered in a mosquito bite.
Because he was walking around half naked.
I wasn't. I was trying to sleep.
Tell him that.
I was sleeping. But, you know, by the beach and stuff. So yeah, that was that. I thought the mosquitoes worked for Mossad actually. But we got from Tel Aviv to Haifa in like a sort of a bus basically with a lot of other people on it. But the really interesting thing, and we have to go, but the really interesting thing I would say is that within Israel, Israelis are more frightened of each other and pretty much everything around them than anyone is of Israel. And that's important to understand, because when you build a state based upon such a gross injustice, fear will be prevalent over everything. And so as far as what Nana said about being in the West Bank and feeling more at ease and being inside 48, inside Israel, it makes complete sense, because fear is completely prevalent in that area. So yeah, from there we then just drove to the checkpoint and so
Yeah, I think we're going to... Yeah, we're going to wrap up. What I'm going to say is that we basically work, we work alongside a grassroots organization called Existence Resistance. They were the guys that were behind, taking us on tour to the West Bank. And while they do that, they also printed out some T-shirts for us. Everything, all the proceeds from you paying in, and also for the T-shirts, will all go back towards Existence Resistance and their work in Palestine. So please feel free, come and have a look. The T-shirts are about £15. They go female T-shirts, male T-shirts. So just come down, have a look, and thank you very much for coming down.
Thank you for coming.